Ladies and gentlemen, top of the Sunday morning, welcome to the final episode of The Sweat here on DraftKings Network and VSiN.
Wow.
It's really good to have you here. It is odd to say that. We've had a hell of a 6-year run. None of us are getting fired. We're just going to kind of take a break.
Yeah.
We are going to gear up for football season, which on DraftKings Network is going to be absolutely loaded with pigskin programming. So that's a little tease there. So you got to stick with us here following this final episode of The Sweat. I am Emerson Latzia. Steve Buchanan is here. We got the all-star team behind the scenes cooking. How are you feeling here ahead of the final 2-hour stretch? I feel like the captain in the Titanic, and we're just going down with the ship.
I mean, that's a little dramatic because I don't know if you realize, but the Titanic ending didn't go well.
Yeah, no. This ship will stay afloat in other ways. You know, we're getting on the lifeboat. Sorry, kids and women. We're on the lifeboat.
I mean, look, it's a tough season. You know, this time of year, really only baseball is left and everything. So I think it makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of good things to come. So it's bittersweet today.
Yeah.
It's like we've done this for a long, long time. You know,
we
together.
have.
I wasn't looking for a handshake.
That's okay.
We've done this for a really long time. Like, we've had a lot of good memories, and I think we'll get to relive that a lot as we go through the next 2 hours.
We will. We have a lot of really funny historical moments from this show's history that we will bring you between now and the end of this show, the final one at 10 a.m. Here's a little tease, though, what we got coming up in this program, folks. So we will talk some college football futures. Believe it or not, Julian Edlow will swing by, albeit very briefly. He is mashing donuts right now as we speak. Hey, anyone hungry? Yeah, I'm not talking donuts. I'm talking glizzies. Glizzy Gladiator Nick Weary will be joining the program because you know what's coming up on Thursday, Steve. That is the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest there on Coney Island. No Joey Chestnut. Nick, one of the favorites to bring home the title. And Brendan Glasheen, another OG of The Sweat, will be joining us live this morning. The voice of the Connecticut Sun. There are a lot of storylines we need to break down around the WNBA, which is having a historic season in terms of money being brought in, ratings. So shout out to all those ladies. Glash will help us navigate some of those storylines.
It is actually kind of hilarious that the show is ending right before your persona, which is the hot dog eating contest.
Yep.
It's actually, I wonder if that actually
they did that on purpose. They said we cannot afford to have this guy talking for an entire week about mashing hot dogs because that is all he does on Twitter.
Right.
Anywho, let's go ahead and kick off this show the same way we have since this show was launched on weekends. That is by working up a sweat. So maybe a bet, storyline, something that's cooking between the ears for us. And Steve, you are batting leadoff. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, so let's go to the NFL. We've been talking about that a little bit here because that's a lot of the programming that's going to be coming up here on the network. So, of course, like we mentioned, stay tuned for that. But a report came out yesterday from The Athletic. Chad Graff said that Jacoby Brissett is the starter.
Whoa.
And basically put that in quotes like that's how it's going to run. And I think we kind of realized that was going to happen, but we really haven't gotten official word. And this still, I wouldn't even say that this is official as of yet, but the offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, said it wasn't a fluke, that he was taking first team reps, kind of read into that as you will. But this kind of brings me to, some of the bets that are on DraftKings Sportsbook. Do you start looking at the passing yards for Drake May? Because if he is indeed not going to be starting week 1, which I think is the correct move, by the way, how does that passing total look for him? Because right now it is the lowest on the board, as it should be. 2,400.5 yards is the passing total here for Drake May. That is actually like I mentioned, it's the lowest. Next one in line is Russell Wilson, who is at 2750.5 for his season, which is a 350-yard difference. But really it comes into play is if you're going to take this or not, how much realistically are we going to see Jacoby Brissett for this upcoming season? Because if you remember, Emerson, a couple of years ago when he was with the Browns, he was a very capable quarterback.
Dude, he's a serviceable quarterback.
He's very serviceable. This isn't Bailey Zappi going to be taking stuff under center where he's just been an absolute nightmare when he came in relief for Mac Jones here. But you go back to 2022, he had a 64% completion rate, over 2,600 passing yards in 16 games, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So he's good enough. And with this offense and how this team is looking right now, obviously it's in a complete rebuild mode, he could be in there for maybe even half the season, I feel like. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were looking up the bye week for the Patriots. They have one of the latest bye weeks in the NFL
I think
season.
it's
Second
week
week of
14.
December.
Yeah.
That is really, really deep in there for him. So it's not like, they'll let Brissett start for the first 4 games. They have a bye week in week 5. Then they can, insert Drake May here. But I think that, once the season really goes sideways, because, the Patriots aren't even favored once.
It's wild.
throughout
They're the
entire
only
season.
team that is an underdog in all 17 games. currently.
Panthers too. I think the
Oh, well, that
Panthers
would
are
make
as well.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would absolutely
the
make
only 2 teams that aren't favored at any point. But so to me, I think you do have to still look at the under for for Drake May here, because even if, let's say, he came in week 6, right? So now we're talking about an average of 200 per game for him to get the over at this point. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of running from Drake May. That's kind of like his coup de grace here. So basically, this is a long way of me saying I think we can really realistically look at the under for Drake May's passing yards at 2,400 and a half, because it is basically confirmed, although not officially, that he's not going to be starting in week 1.
And to me, we've already mentioned it. Brissett is a serviceable quarterback. He's a consummate teammate. Like, he's one of the best teammates that is known inside locker rooms around the league. So he's going to go out there. He's going to work his tail off because he wants to show that he deserves another opportunity to start in this league. So I was thinking about the bye week, Steven. Since it is so late, that's a little late in the year to be experimenting here. So the trade deadline, hear me out, November 5th.
Okay.
So it would not be shocking to me if Brissett was moved in a deal right before the deadline, which would then open up week 10 against Caleb Williams and the Bears to be May's first NFL start. Because Patriots obviously not expected to be thriving, so they could make the move to May really at any time.
So at that point, you're basically at 7-8 games left for Brissett. For May. And then you're talking about over 300 passing yards, 340 passing yards per game. That ain't happening. So that's why I think, like, if it does go, and that's just another example. If it does go
we're
that
just thinking
deep,
out loud here.
Yeah, if it does go that deep, then that's an astronomical number for him to go over. So I think the under is to play here, because I don't think it's going to be like a 2-week thing and then they put in May. I think they're really going to try to draw this out. Like, they don't want to make this another Mac Jones, where it was like, Mac Jones played fine in his first year, but like maybe he wasn't ready. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in the long run here. And that's why he's in the position where he is. Now he's the backup for Trevor Lawrence.
Yep, he certainly is. Yeah, Trevor has some competition there for QB1. I don't know. The NFL offseason may not necessarily get your juices flowing, but I'll tell you what, hot take here, best part of the NBA season is the offseason, which may or may not be a good thing. You got the drama, you got the theater. It's a game of millionaire musical chairs. Oh, and Woj bombs. Let's go. Eamon, make your way on over there to the touchscreen.
Come on,
sweet
Eamon.
chinchilla. Like yesterday, he reports that Paul George has opted out of the final year of his contract with the Clippers and will become an unrestricted free agent. So he plans to set up meetings with the 76ers, the Magic, and the Clippers on Sunday night. That's tonight. So George has been with the Clippers since that blockbuster acquisition of both him and Kawhi Leonard. That was the summer of 2019.
Yeah.
And you would think a team that good, that stacked with top-tier talent would have found immense success up to this point. They have not. They failed to reach the NBA Finals in 5 seasons together, due largely in part to injuries here suffered before the postseason. So we'll see what happens here. The Clippers reportedly have offered him a 3-year, $153 million extension. That was below the max, but you've got Paul George saying, I want the 4-year super max contract here. And he did say during the offseason he hopes to stick with his hometown team, which is the Clippers, but Clippers are going to obviously have to come around, offer him a little more cash here. But you've got other guys out there. A lot of questions about what's going to happen to Klay Thompson. You've got the Beard also on the Clippers. What's he going to end up doing? So I'm a huge fan of the NBA offseason. I'm probably more of a casual NBA fan. I dial in a little bit towards the end of the regular season, postseason. I'm not like Julian Edlow, where I'm just eating, drinking, and sleeping the NBA. But the offseason does it for me because I love drama and I love tea. That's right. I certainly do.
They take that 4-year max, and that brings them to 38, if that's the case. Like that.
He's just got to be able to stay healthy here,
Yeah.
man. Like he has to. So the Major League Baseball offseason also, I would say, is like
Boring.
the hot stove. Yeah, a little
Pretty
boring
boring.
here. But when it comes to the All-Star game, voting can also be a little boring.
It's so ridiculous how they treat this All-Star game. Like, so we're in phase 2 of voting now. So the fans vote for phase 1, which is, the 2 starters at each position, 6 outfielders. Now we're on to phase 2, where it's like, who's going to start amongst those people? Like, this game doesn't even matter. This is just a glorified exhibition game. And then you got half the guys who should actually be making the team aren't even on the roster at all. Like, obviously we're Boston-based, so, Jarren Durant, someone that comes up a lot, but like, Jarren Durant's like a legit player that should have been amongst the 6 outfielders that have gone there. Like, he'll make the team, because, after that they got to pick alternates, so like, that's like from player vote.
The commissioner has some picks.
Yeah, the commissioner has some picks. Here, we'll fix the whole thing here for you. This is how you should do the All-Star game. Player votes only. Player votes. You have to vote for people not on your team.
They're not going to do that. They want fans involved somehow.
It's just a popularity contest when it comes down to that. Because some of the guys that make the team is absolutely ridiculous, but the social media intern is telling you people what to do. You listen to him. The guy's not even getting paid to post on Twitter, and you go, yeah, I'm going to listen to this guy. And that's how we get our All-Star team.
I miss the days of 1957 when Cincinnati Reds fans were submitting so many paper ballots and stuffing it that 7 players were voted starters in the Midsummer Classic. Hey, we got more baseball to talk about after this. Let's see which bets are on your card today.
Okay.
All right, folks, back here on The Sweat, I'm Emerson Lotze. He is Steve Buchanan. We teased talking baseball bets before the previous break, so now we will deliver on said promise as we take ourselves inside the bettor's box.
There you go.
And we'll start with some game bets here. We talked yesterday about, Steve, the AL Central Guardians had a 7-game lead over both the Twins and Royals, the Guardians playing the Royals and the Guardians beating the Royals. Royals now find themselves 8 games back. And the Royals were a team you have been high on since day one, my friend. Still high on them? So high, in fact, you think they win this game today?
I do think so, and they have a chance to take the series here against the Guardians. Again, they didn't make up a ton of ground here, depending on the outcome of today, but they could end up winning 3 out of 4 against the Guardians here, which would be, helpful to them, at least kind of staying in that AL Central. But I like them on the money line here, going against the Guardians. Like I said, mentioned, they could take the series here if they get a win here today. They're going to be going up against Logan Allen, which is a very beatable pitcher here. This is somebody who will be making his 17th start of the season, has a 5.72 ERA, an expected ERA of 5.85. So he has been as bad as advertised when he takes the mound. Doesn't have good command, doesn't strike out a lot of guys, and allows a ton of home runs. Basically a home run per outing at this point. 18 home runs allowed on the year. Has some really bad numbers against both sides of the plate. Lefties have tagged him with a 356 WOBA. Righties a 402 WOBA here. And then on the other side of the game here, we got Seth Lugo, who has been absolutely fantastic for the Royals, especially over the last couple starts here. He allowed a total of 4 runs in his last 3 starts, which means 18 2/3 innings. The Royals' bats have been really good in this series here, Emerson. I think that's going to continue here today. So give me the Royals on the money line, which I believe is now minus 135. Yeah, so Royals on the money line there, minus 135.
All right, how are we feeling about the Brewers today here? Going to wrap up a series against the Cubs.
Yeah, I like them on the first 5 run line here at minus half a run at minus 120. You got Freddie Peralta going up against Kyle Hendricks. Somehow Peralta's going to be the 3rd time he's going to be going up against the Cubs. With the schedule how it is now, it's actually kind of amazing. He's seen this team. You will be seeing this team for the 3rd time here. But in those 2 prior starts, 10 2/3 innings against him, 4 runs allowed on 6 hits with 16 strikeouts. We have Kyle Hendricks going for the Cubs here. He's been bouncing in and out of the rotation. He's been in the bullpen a lot. As a starter specifically, this has not been an area where he has performed well. As an 8.10 ERA as a starter through 9 starts, he's allowed 39 runs through just 43 1/3 innings as a starter so far this year. Brewers have also been one of the best first 5 teams on the run line. They're going 49 34. If you bet them all season long, you'd be up 10 units if you were betting them on that first 5 run line. Cubs are way down on that list. They're only 39 45 in that start. Freddie Peralta has been phenomenal. He's got some really good strikeout stuff. The Cubs do strike out a lot too. I don't mind looking at Freddie Peralta's strikeout prop, but I think it was pretty juiced up. I think it was at 6.5 at minus 155 for the over here. So if you're willing to pay that, you can look at that too. But Peralta going against the Cubs for the 3rd time this season. I think he finds some success here, and the Brewers, I think, should have a lead here through the first 5 innings when it's all said and done.
All right, before we get to Tigers Angels here, I noticed that, or I read yesterday, you had Mike Trout saying that he hopes to make his return from knee surgery by late July. It should be stressed, though, that Trout did not offer an official timeline. He's not yet resumed running or hitting in the cage. He's been playing catch. He's running on an anti-gravity treadmill. That sounds fancy.
But what does that even mean?
I'm not quite sure because
I know the anti-gravity chairs.
Gravity's everywhere. We're in gravity right now. We are experiencing it.
Thank you. I know. We all know.
When will the Angels move him? Just move him. Come on. Set him free.
I at this point, I really don't know if it's ever going to happen because he's so loyal to that team. Because he said before, too, because they've asked him, numerous times, and he's like, I signed a contract here, I'm willing to stay here. He's so incredibly loyal. Because,
he's under contract through the 2030 season.
For the rest of his career. He's not going, he will never get another contract.
And back in the spring, he did squash any speculation that he would request a trade in the near term. But, guys say things and then, walk it back all the time.
Yeah, Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
But we're obviously going to get, Ohtani in the playoffs for the first time, with the Dodgers this year. It's it would be nice to get Trout in there at some point. Because remember during the WBC when it was that Ohtani Trout showdown?
Yeah, that was the final out, right?
The final out. that was like so electric. That was so exciting to watch, and it was just good to see those two guys on like a big stage. Where
Those two in the World Series would be unbelievable. But as long as Trout is on the Angels, that's not happening.
But the other unfortunate thing is too is like Trout is like definitely on the wrong side of his career at this point, right? Like the numbers haven't been strong. His strikeout numbers have been going up for the past like 3-4 years. Like the average has been going down. The power is still there, but like Trout is definitely on the opposite side of the prime of his career at this point. So
he's appeared in more than 100 games just once since the 2020 pandemic.
It's crazy. Like he has just been so unlucky with the injuries too. But yeah.
All right. So in terms of this game today,
yeah.
What are you targeting?
So we're going to do another first 5 inning bet here. We're going to take the under through the first 5 innings of under 4.5 at -105. Angels, by the way, are on a roll right now. They don't have Ohtani, they don't have Trout, but they're won 6 in a row. Coming in today. Yes, but here's the best part. They've won 6 in a row and yet are still 8.5 games out of a playoff spot at this point. So it's not like it's doing them any good, but they're going up against the Detroit Tigers right now, who are really struggling offensively. They're going to be pitching Casey Mize, while the Angels are going to be putting Tyler Anderson on the mound. Tyler Anderson, by the way, has been phenomenal. That name is probably a name you haven't heard about a lot this season, but with the way he's been pitching, he actually might be a very valuable trade piece for the Angels. So just something to watch there. But Detroit has some really poor numbers against lefties. Obviously, that's what Anderson is. 284 WOBA against lefties on the year. And the offense, like I mentioned, has been really, really bad as of late. Over the last 5 games, the Detroit Tigers are averaging just 2.6 runs per game. So this under through the first 5 innings has a lot to do with how bad the Tigers have been offensively, rather for the Angels in this game. Like I think the Angels should be able to scrap together a couple of runs here against Casey Mize, but I don't think the Tigers will be able to do enough through the first 5 innings against Tyler Anderson to make up the difference to get at least 5 runs here through the first 5 innings. So I think the under is in play here through the first 5. But yeah, when that trade deadline comes around, I would not be shocked to hear a lot of rumblings about Tyler Anderson, because he has been so good for the Angels.
July 30th, right? July 30th,
I believe so. I think last year was, August 1st. I think it's back in July this year, yeah.
Around that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
The Phillies have had no problem winning baseball games this year, Steve, and Ranger Suarez has been a huge part of that success in Philadelphia. In fact, you had some ESPN writers yesterday officially naming him as the best pitcher in baseball throughout the first half of the season here. What are you looking at in terms of betting him today?
You know what's amazing, though, is that the Marlins, if they somehow win this game, will win the series against the Phillies. They've taken 2 out of 3.
How many series have the Marlins even won this year? Probably can count.
This will probably be like the second.
Yeah,
They're
right?
such a bad team. But they're going to be up for a tough task here against Ranger Suarez, who, like you mentioned, has been so good so far this year. And he's a lefty. The Marlins have been one of the worst teams against lefties all season long. They come into this game hitting just .219 against lefties on the year. Their strikeout rate just outside the top 10. I was really shocked about this strikeout total here. This is a number of the 5.5 strikeout total for Ranger Suarez that he's gone over in the majority of his starts. He's gone over in 10 of his 16 starts, including a game when he pitched against Miami in mid-May. He had 9 strikeouts through 7 innings in that game. So not only are you getting a 5.5 strikeout total, you're getting plus money on this bet as well. If you look at the expected lineup for the Marlins that's expected to take the field today, that whole team combined has a strikeout rate of 25%. So this is a team that's going to provide a lot of strikeouts. They don't hit lefties well to begin with. They have absolutely no power against lefties at all. So this is a really odd line to me. I would definitely be taking this. This is probably my favorite bet on the day. So if you're looking to just take one bet here, but over 5.5 strikeouts for Ranger Suarez against this Marlins team, can't hit lefties, strikes out a ton, has no power, and the Phillies, I think, would like to come out of this at least with a split. They don't want to lose a series against the Marlins, but to their credit, they lost Bryce Harper, they lost Kyle Schwarber on the same day. They both went on the IL, so that lineup looks a lot different.
That's a buzzkill.
Yeah, that's a lot of guys to lose, a lot of power to lose. Your top 3 hitters, 1 and 3, with Schwarber and Harper. So big losses there, but
especially when you lose Schwarber in the month of June.
Oh yeah, I mean his numbers in June are
this month. 6th month of the year, he becomes like the Hulk.
It's amazing how
he should still be here in Boston. I'll say that.
I will agree with that, but it's amazing that on every season, his numbers in June are just unbelievable.
Okay, before we head to break here, hook me up with why Joe Ryan has your attention today. This is a guy the D-backs jumped on just about 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a big Mariners guy here, but you have to admit when you can bet against them and taking strikeouts.
You're here to help People make money.
Yeah, taking strikeout props over is usually against the Mariners have been extremely profitable here. This is a big number here for Joe Ryan, 7.5 strikeouts. This is not a number that he goes over a lot. He's only done it 4 times this season. However, in the games that he has gone over, 3 of those teams have been in the top 10 in K rate on the year. Pirates, Tigers, and then you have this one here against the Mariners. So I know it's a big number for him to go over because it's not one that he usually does, but today's expected lineup against Joe Ryan for the Mariners, 29% K rate on the year. That is absurd. So for Joe Ryan to go over 7.5 strikeouts, you're getting a pretty decent number here as well, a decent line, I should say. So I think Ryan can do this here for a number that, like I said, does not usually go over, but that's how the Mariners have been this season.
All right, hang out. We need you for the remaining hour and a half of this program, Steve. But right now, back to school to prove to Dad that I'm not a fool. College football futures next.
Welcome back to The Sweat here on DraftKings Network and VSiN. It's summertime. We got a holiday coming up, but it is never too early to look into the future for some college football bets, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. And for the occasion, we are going to welcome in college football expert, college football handicapper, Paul Stone. You can find him on Twitter at Paul Stone Sports. Paul, how we doing, man?
Doing well. I mean, we're closing in on the month of July, Julian. So we're less than 60 days, I believe, from the kickoff, week 0 on August 24th. So before you know it, it's going to be here. So like you said, certainly at this point, never too early to talk college football, and we're starting the countdown.
Always an exciting time. And I think once we see that Larry O'Brien trophy hoisted, the Stanley Cup hoisted, and some seasons kind of come to a close, now it's like, all right, let's get the wheels in motion for football. So let's go ahead and do that with maybe a starting point that a lot of people aren't going to start their handicapping, but I am right there with you on this Liberty team. I know that you have 2 plays on them. I've played them at -165 and -175 just to win the Conference USA Championship. My reasoning being, I know you're probably going to touch on their toughest game of the year, which is at App State. Out of conference game, I'm not even going to factor that in. I'm just going to say they're going to blow through that conference and be there in the conference title game at a much steeper number when that game arrives. But I know your confidence level is high enough to not just bet them in Conference USA, but also go with that high 10.5 win total. Break down your interest in Liberty this season for me, Paul.
Yeah, jump in anytime, Julian, because I've got quite a few thoughts on this Liberty team. And first of all, they're just head and shoulders above every other team in Conference USA. And I mean, that's what it comes down to when you look at, first of all, a regular season win total, for instance. You want to try to project what the betting line's going to be, and then you kind of look at how many losable games do they have. And Liberty's going to be favored in 11 of their 12 regular season games. The only game they're probably not going to be favored is that late September trip to Boone, North Carolina to play Appalachian State. I right now have them as a 2.5-point underdog, could be getting 3, but they're going to be a small underdog there. In their other 11 games in the regular season, they're going to be favored by double digits. In 5 of those, I have them projected at 20 or more points as the favorite. And then in the other 6, anywhere from 11.5 to 14.5 points. So they're a significant favorite in 11 of their 12 games. Again, that Appalachian State, kind of their game of the year being the one exception. And it'll be interesting, how the not really part of the discussion here as far as our bets, but how is the playoff committee going to adjudicate, an undefeated Liberty or Appalachian State if one of them is undefeated versus, say, a one-loss Boise State that goes to Oregon in week 2,
Yep.
Or a one-loss Memphis that goes to Florida State in week 3. That would be an interesting challenge that the committee would have to work out there. But you just look at this team again, looking at the line of -175, I think they're at DraftKings to win Conference USA. Mathematically, what that pretty much implies is to make a profit, and this is just a small profit, but at -175, you have to win 6.5 times out of 10 mathematically to make a small profit there. And I don't think this is a 6.5 out of 10 type situation. I think this is like a 9 out of 10 situation.
That's the number I was going to give you. I was like, this feels like 9 out of 10 times Liberty wins this conference.
Yeah, and I really think, Julian, the only way that would happen would be, unfortunately, if Caden Salter got injured, their quarterback. Mm-hmm. Outside of him being injured, I mean, they obviously, again, this year will play the easiest schedule in the country, ranked 134 out of 134th. They've got a quarterback who's not only good for the group of 5 level. This guy's a big-time player. He's a dual-threat player, threw for 2,876 yards last year, ran for another 1,089. He accounted for 44 touchdowns, 32 through the air, and another 12 on the ground. So this is a big-time talent. And outside of him getting hurt, again, it just looks like they're so much better than anybody else on their schedule. And the 2 key challengers, if you want to call them that, Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky, they get both of those teams on their home field there in Lynchburg, Virginia. So I just think as square as it kind of sounds to be touting or recommending a team to win a conference, it's such advanced odds, minus 175. I think it's a bargain. I just think they're gonna sweep through it. Even if they don't have their best stuff, they're gonna beat everybody in that conference, and they're gonna host the conference game at the end of the regular season, which will ultimately determine the Conference USA winner. So I like Liberty not only to win the conference at minus 175, but I like the over 10.5 wins at minus 110. Again, it just seems like they've got one losable game on the schedule, and 11 wins, as odd as it sounds, is almost the floor for the Flames.
So we're aligned there, and I'll bring you to another place that we're aligned in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, a win total. You could get a juiced 7.5 at one point. I did wind up playing some of it in the minus 150 neighborhood for the over. I think we're sitting at 8, minus 120 on DK Sportsbook now. But this Cowboys team, again, we'll talk conference realignment briefly at the end, but Texas out, Oklahoma out. Oklahoma State's in a pretty good spot here after playing in the conference title game last year to have a good season.
They really are. I mean, I really believe, as you do as well, it sounds like, Julian, that some college football pundits are simply underselling Oklahoma State. First of all, this is an extremely balanced Big 12. I mean, I think and I'm not offering some type of unique perspective that you won't hear on other programs, but I think the Cowboys are one of maybe 7 or 8 teams in this conference that could actually win the league. And again, one of the most significant components when you're handicapping a team's regular season win total is a close examination of their schedule. And you look at this schedule, and Oklahoma State, they're only a clear-cut underdog in one of their games. And that's going to be that late September trip to Manhattan to face Kansas State. The week before that, they host Utah, currently a 1-point home underdog to Utah, but that game could go off at pick, and they could perhaps even be favored. They do have some losable games, though, unlike Liberty that we talked about that I really don't think have any losable games. The Cowboys could be favored by a touchdown or less in 5 of their other games. So they do have some games. This is a very not necessarily perhaps a great team in the Big 12, but there are a lot of really good teams. So it could be really competitive, going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out, like him, love him, or loathe him, Mike Gundy, to me, he's one of those coaches who gets more out of less. He always seems to overachieve. He's more likely going to be from coming back in the pack than he is, failing to meet expectations. And I use this illustration. In the Cowboys' last 21 regular season games, they have won 7 games outright where they were the betting underdog. On the flip side, they've only lost 3 games outright when they were the betting favorite. So that's a very positive, component as well of this Oklahoma State team. They're ranked number 1 on Phil Steele's experience chart, ranked number 3 on Bill Connolly's experience chart. Yep. They return a 1,700-yard rusher in Ollie Gordon II. I think, a lot's been made of that on in some media outlets, but probably not enough has been made of the home run that it was for Oklahoma State to be able to keep Ollie Gordon II in the age of the transfer portal. Yeah, I don't know the specifics, but I know that some teams came after him with a lot of money.
I'm with you there, Paul. All right, we got just about a minute left here, so we're going to go to a game of the year. We got it on the board at DK Sportsbook. I love betting some of these games, particularly earlier season ones, so you're not throwing a Hail Mary too far down into like October or November. But in just about a minute here, I know you got a take on the Colorado State game. Colorado State getting 8 points in this one.
You just jump in if you need to cut me off here, Julian. Sorry that I went too long-winded, but we got this Colorado State team playing Colorado in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. This game has not been played in Fort Collins since 1996. So the last 24 meetings, 19 have been in Denver, 5 have been in Boulder. These guys are going to be excited about having Coach Prime and the Buffaloes coming to Fort Collins. Last year's game, one of the better games in the entire month of September. Colorado rallies to tie the game in regulation, ultimately beats Colorado State 42-34 in double overtime. Colorado's vulnerabilities in the back of the defense. Colorado State Torrey Horton, one of the best receivers in all of college football, regardless of whether you're talking Group of Five, Power Five, or whatever, Jackson Five, whatever five. This is a guy last year, 16 receptions, 133 yards last year against Buffalo. I like Colorado State +8.
All right, there we go. We got a game of the year on September 14th. Colorado State getting 8 points against Colorado. Thanks for joining us, Paul. You can find him on Twitter at Paul Stone Sports, and we are excited to get some good college football bets going next season.
Good deal, Julian. Thanks for having me, and call anytime. Love to be on with you guys.
All right, we'll be right back here on The Sweat. We're going to be talking some racing with Pierce Dietrich.
This is clickbait, and the normies are eating it up. He's not going anywhere. This was clearly a leak by Rosenhaus to speed up the negotiation process. He's not getting traded. It's just a leak to get leverage. That is all that this is. I mean, think about it. When did this news pop up? Oh, I don't know, on the slowest day where nothing is happening. They just happened to drop this one on the people. He's not going anywhere. They don't want to trade him. He doesn't want to leave. They're just trying to get back to the table to negotiate again. If you read like the specific details, it's that the talks have stalled. They simply just want to get back to negotiating and finding something that works for both sides.
I mean, he is I can say this with 100%, sir. He's getting traded after Pierce is given this day. He's 100% gone.
1,000%.
I mean, I'm already penciling in like Jarvis Landry or Julio Jones as the free agent replacement. I've already got this set. He's getting traded. Pierce is so adamant he's not. He's gone. He's out of there.
And not kidding you, literally 5 minutes after that segment, Pierce Dietrich, Tyreek Hill was traded. It was by far a top 5 moment in this show's history for me, Pierce. And you have had some pretty good takes over the years. That may have not been your strongest one. Thanks for being here on a Sunday morning, Pierce.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Maybe I can work my reverse engineering magical powers to get some picks to work today.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you have that positive attitude. We are certainly hoping for better results than your Tyreek Hill prediction there. But lovely accent you have there, New Jersey, Austria. So let's get a little rubbing is racing going on right now. We'll talk some F1. I need you to give us some details on this weekend first, though, because again, not really dialed into F1 as much as you are. So there was a sprint race replacing a couple of practice rounds here. You get some championship points for it. So what stood out to you yesterday during the sprint race here? And I know Mad Max was once again coming out on top.
Yeah, I'll be adamant again saying that Max Verstappen should just run away with the race today based on what we witnessed yesterday. He won the pole by 4/10. 4/10 is remarkable at any track, but you really shouldn't be able to do that at the Red Bull Ring. It's just 3 long DRS zones, not a lot of turns. There's really not a way to separate from the rest of the field. You know, talent doesn't really matter as much as it would at another track, but somehow he destroyed the field in qualifying. Then he gets passed in the sprint race and just bullies his way back moments later, gets out of the DRS zone, and just pretty much checks out. This looks like he's going to humiliate the field or the orange cars in front of the orange fans. It's a Mad Max day.
Oh, yeah, and it was, feels like every weekend. Again, we're the second week of 3 straight, I believe, of F1 racing. And I know last week I gave you a little bit of a hard time because, you know, it's just so chalk just to take Max Verstappen every week. But you know what you're talking about, and you shut me down, ended up winning, and another win for Red Bull. So this week in Austria, Red Bull's home track, Pierce Dietrich. So question for you. How about a double podium finish here with Verstappen and Perez? I think Perez is going to be starting 7th. Is that right? So I know he struggled a little bit this season. You tell me. How do you feel about that bet?
Yeah, it almost sometimes doesn't feel like Sergio is a part of the team anymore. His cars are not even close to being as competitive as Max's, and his talent really hasn't been all that great this season. And it showed up once again this weekend. He is way behind the McLarens. The Mercedes has leapfrogged over him. Carlos Sainz is fast this weekend. He's not getting on the podium. You know, you could consider him when we go to a street circuit. That's about the only place anymore where Perez is, you know, kind of a viable option. But the only Red Bull that matters will be Max Verstappen.
Yep. All right. Well, another week, same story, I guess. What else on the DK Sportsbook has your attention in terms of F1 props, finishing position bets do you like? You tell me. Help the people at home watching right now.
I like Lewis Hamilton to finish second at plus 1,200.
I like him.
Hamilton's running well. He is getting it kind of back together. The Mercedes upgrades they made at Canada several weeks ago now have really paid off. The team is right there with McLaren. Specific weeks, they're better than Ferrari. It's a tough bet because it is 1,200, and we know that McLaren has been good all season. They're good this weekend, and Carlos Sainz looked pretty fast too. So it's not an easy task. But if you look at Sector 3, where Max Verstappen's absolutely destroying everyone, Hamilton yesterday was the second fastest in that sector. So there is a chance. He has enough of a car. If he puts together a good race, I don't think it's the craziest pick.
All right, let's see how crazy you get on the NASCAR side of things. We're going to go to Smashville right now. You got the Ally 400. And in terms of DFS, because NASCAR DFS, it is huge within our company. And you always come up with power rankings every week for each race. Only 3 guys that are going to be north of 10K in DFS. So who are the guys at the top of the price range who you would actually consider rostering?
You got Hamlin, you got Bell, and you got Larson all above 10K. They all deserve it based on what they've done this season, and they all deserve it based on what they did this weekend. They're all qualifying and starting on the front 2 rows. Nashville's a track where it's just a one-groove track. You don't pass. Everybody pretty much holds position. It's a bit of a snooze, but that's good news for the guys starting up front. You can make, you don't have to snooze through it if you've got some action on it and you're rooting for Hamlin, Bell, or Larson. They're going to stay up front all day. They're going to lead laps. They're going to run fast laps. They're all good in practice. Bell's probably the hottest of them, but Hamlin's been great on concrete tracks of recent memory. And then you look at Larson. He won here in 2021. I know that was a different package, but he's got 3 wins this season. He's doing just fine. If you can jam all 3 in your lineups, go for it. But I definitely want 2 of them.
I'm looking forward to snoozing a little more on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I know you are as well, Pierce. What about value? Give me some value in DFS. How far down the board are you going to go?
Yeah, there's not a lot of great value. AJ Allmendinger pops out. Colleague has been fast at this track in the past. He didn't qualify very well, but that has a lot to do with there's a Session A and a Session B practice. And he went out in Session A, and then the track changes, so then he goes out for qualifying later on, and he just misses it. And also, that being said, you have to be careful with the Session A and Session B practice data because Session A is going to look a little faster than they really are. But ultimately, I think I can chase AJ. And then, as I mentioned before, there's not a lot of passing at this track, so Carson Hocevar may seem a little bit risky, but he could possibly hold on to position. The Spire cars have been pretty fast this weekend, so Hocevar, maybe Corey LaJoie as well.
Talk to me about props. Which ones for NASCAR you like on the DK Sportsbook here? Lots to choose from, my friend.
There are quite a lot, and a lot are pretty hard to make a decision on. But I will take Tyler Reddick over Ryan Blaney. I know Ryan Blaney's running really well right now. It's very fast. Laid down some really fast times in practice, but as I mentioned, the Session A practice speeds are a little bit inflated, and Blaney went out there and didn't qualify well because the track changed. And as I mentioned earlier, track position is going to mean everything. It's hard to pass, and I think the advantage that Reddick has, being up front with a better pit stall, he'll be able to hold on to this position, and so you take the plus money with Tyler Reddick.
Okay, who gets the win? Who gets the win in Nashville today? I need this to actually come to fruition, unlike your Tyreek Hill prediction.
Okay, so whoever I say to the opposite of.
Yeah, true.
Well, then I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. He's running really well. He's really hot. He's starting up front. He was fast in practice. He'll have the track position. It really is a toss-up between him, Larson, and Hamlin. And, we could go with all 3 are probably good picks. Hamlin would be my second option if I had to make another choice, just because, as I mentioned, he's been really strong on concrete tracks. He's on the front row. He has the number 1 pit stall. He has the number 1 pit crew. And so just as long as we turn laps, he'll probably just stay up front all day. And
one thing I'm going to do, Pierce, I'm going to give NASCAR credit. They've started thinking outside the box a little more. They've been out in the Coliseum in LA. They're heading to new cities, new tracks, trying new things, including Chicago. So Chicago is next week. And while I have you here, I know there were literally some bumps in the road. Last year, there was some rough weather there along Lakeshore Drive. How are you expecting this to improve next week for the second go-around of this race?
Well, it definitely ties into this week. It is great that NASCAR is going to these new tracks and doing the promotion thing. That's why they're in Nashville. Nashville's a terrible track. No one wants to be here, but it's Nashville. It's a hot city. Everybody wants to be in Nashville. Same thing with Chicago. The track design is terrible. It's not going to work as far as watching good racing. But if you want an event, a spectacle, It's great. They're racing in the city of Chicago. They've got the backdrop and the city, and it all looks great and nice. But if you want to watch pure racing, go watch IndyCar, go watch a dirt race. It's not going to be very exciting for racing, but it's a cool event.
Is there a city you'd like to see NASCAR hit the streets for?
Detroit?
Detroit? Yeah. I want Edmonton. That's what I want. I want them setting up a track right around Jeff Ulrich's house.
I think they're going to go back to Ontario next season.
Oh, okay, Pierce. Well, on that note, thanks for kind of breaking some news on your final appearance here. We'll see you later, Pierce.
Yeah,
it's been a hell of a run.
That's not happening.
I'm going to miss you, but I'll still annoy you through text. All right.
Sounds great.
I'm going to annoy everybody with some hot dog talk after this. Nick Weary will join the program. Yeah, that's right. Back to the norm. All right, folks, we're kicking off the final second hour in this show's history tier, and we're doing it with one of my favorite sports, the hot dog eating competition, which arrives on America's birthday this Thursday, July 4th, the 4th of July. And with no Joey Chestnut this year, folks, this thing is wide open. Jeffrey Esper, even money right now, okay? He's a Massachusetts guy. He's like a science teacher in his everyday job. James Webb is dangerous, but so is my guy, Nick Weary, and I caught up with him yesterday. You need to listen to this ginormous human being. How are we feeling right now, 5 days out from the biggest event of the year for you?
Oh man, I feel great. Thank you for having me. It's been a long prep, but at this point, most of the work is done, and now it's just time to kind of coast into Thursday and see how things go.
Yeah. So how has the training been going? Because I love the text updates you send me. It's just this ginormous grill with like 200 hot dogs on it, and I've never been more jealous when you send me those pics.
Yeah, thank you, man. The training's been going good. The training's been solid. It's been some subtle changes from years past, but it has nothing to do with obviously Joey not being there. It's more so just like you adapt. I think this is year 7 for me at the table, and got to figure some things out. You figure out your body, try to make it work with you versus against you. Because obviously what we're doing is a little bit out there, but I'm really psyched with where my numbers are, how my capacity feels, how my speed feels. So a few more days, we'll see whose body cooperates.
Yeah. Have you talked to other contestants and competitors around Major League Eating at all, and maybe what they're thinking with Joey not being there this year? Or they think it's going to be more competitive? I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, man, I think we're all really excited. Obviously, as a close friend, it stinks with Joey not being there. But as a competitor, it's really exciting. You're probably going to have basically a 4 to 6 horse race for the title that probably will come down to final seconds or maybe less than one hot dog. So I think it's going to be really fun for people watching. I'm friends with everybody, but I think maybe the last month-ish, those 4 to 6 guys, we've kind of gone radio silence with each other. And all due respect to them, I hope their training is going horrendous, and they're going to have a dumpster fire on Thursday. But with that said, it's exciting, man. It's exciting to see what's coming up.
All right, so I saw some news like a few days ago that Joey will still be eating an ungodly amount of hot dogs on the 4th of July, but he's going to be out in El Paso, Texas, I guess, competing against members of our military. So that means we're not going to get like the John Cena entrance then on Thursday, right, on Coney Island?
I don't think so. I suppose it's still a possibility in the back of everybody's mind. He may come out to pyro and fireworks and all these other things, in which case I hope Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out directly behind him to prevent him from getting on the stage. But no, I think he's going to be doing a very American hot dog eating thing with some troops over there, and we'll be doing our thing in Coney.
Yeah, and I saw Major League Eating tweeting about you this week. So let's see, your personal record is right, like 48 hot dogs. So what's the goal number then on Thursday? Like, what's the number you think you're going to have to hit to win this thing?
That's hard to say. I know. So my personal best on stage is 48, and I think Jeff's hit 51, Pat's hit 55, James is 47. But I would expect all of us to be around those numbers or higher. I think what you're going to see on the 4th of July is probably somewhere in the high 50s to low 60s.
Okay.
That it's going to take to win this contest.
All right, Nick, you got 46.5 is the number that has been set on the DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, so how confident are you in beating that number?
I mean, I did beat it in Cleveland relatively comfortably. And anybody that's super closely aware, not that it overly matters, is I actually went into that 3 days off of tearing an erector in my lower back. So there was that's your back's really not thrilled about eating 48 hot dogs and buns. So I would say I'm very confident that I'll be setting a personal best come Thursday.
Okay, so you're sitting up there and you're eating and you're injured. Like, how is that more of a mental game then when you're battling like a physical injury because you're already putting your body through hell, shoving all those hot dogs inside you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely some part of physical, because obviously there's the pain and discomfort, and it's hard to get your body to really loosen up, and kind of accept the fact that you're eating dozens and dozens of these hot dogs and all the fluid. So there's the mental aspect and the physical aspect. Ignore the pain, block it out, and the pain really didn't bother me. It was just more so if it was going to cooperate, and I got it to kind of cooperate that day. I know there's a lot more in the tank. But I'll be going into the 4th of July, knock on wood, happy, healthy, and ready to go.
Yeah, I love that. I know, having been friends with you now for years and talking to you quite a bit, I know what hoisting that mustard belt would mean to you on America's birthday. And the mustard belt, in my humble opinion, is a top 3 sports trophy of all time. You have, believe it or not, inside your house a lot of mustard belts because your significant other, your partner, Mickey, you guys are the hungry couple here. How has her training been going? We're talking the #1 female eater on the planet.
It's been going good. She's ready. She's focused. A few more days to kind of zone into where we need to be, doing a lot of media and all that. She's a 9-time champ. So who am I to say whether or not what she's doing is correct or incorrect? But I know where she's at. I think she's in a good place mentally. And if she's in a good place mentally and she's relaxed, she's tough, for anybody to beat at any table any given day. So I think she's excited. I think every year brings new challenges, and Maoi coming back from Japan this year is a phenomenal competitor. You can't play defense, and we don't know what to expect out of her, but I would expect a great contest with some pretty good numbers on the women's side on Thursday.
Yeah, and you were telling me before we came on air here, she has a chance to make history. Everyone thinks about like all of the belts that Joey has won. Like Nikki won 15 out of the last 16, but in that, he's never won 10 straight. No one's ever won 10 straight. And that's what Mickey can accomplish on Thursday?
She can. If she goes, like the 1 year she did not win, it wasn't because she lost. It's because Max was about a few days from showing up. She didn't compete. So this will be her 10th consecutive title. Nobody's ever done that, male, female, or otherwise. So it's going to be, it'll be really exciting. I'll be psyched for her. There's room on the wall, the dining room. So hopefully we'll be bringing home 2 belts on the 5th.
That would I didn't even really think of that. Like you two, like the winner of the male category and the female category. Like if you guys, I just imagine you like at the Delta terminal or something, and you got like the belts are going through security, the hungry couple with 2 belts. That would have to be like one of the best moments of your life, and especially with you guys as a couple.
It would be pretty cool. I know walking through with her in years past, people think she's like a boxer and I'm a security guard or something of that nature. It would, obviously on her side, it would mean a lot at number 10. And on my side, there'd be a very large sense of validation for the work that's been put in over the last 7 to 8 years. And I think that's one of the things that means the most. Obviously, there's the check and the belt and all the things that go along with it. But I think with any title or being labeled the best in the world is something that given day, there's a validation that makes you think like, wow, this is why I did it.
Yeah.
What I did was worthwhile. And so I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, and we obviously wish you and Mickey well. We are rooting for you, but I also know this hot dog event is only one of many that you, Mickey, and all the other competitors in Major League Eating as a whole has on tap for this summer. So tell me what else is on the schedule the rest of the way and what you guys plan on eating a lot of.
So there's a handful of things coming up. July 13th, I'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, eating blueberries. So excited for that. Set a blueberry eating record.
That's a new one, right? Right, Nick? That's a new one for you guys?
Brand new contest on the circuit. Really psyched to see how that goes.
So do you have, I know you're down in Florida. Are you just rolling up to Publix then and like you're grabbing pounds and pounds of blueberries to practice that?
I think we have a lot of the pick your own blueberries places down here.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to one of those, and then maybe what I'll do is just hide in the corner of a giant blueberry field with like 15 pounds of blueberries and just see if they notice the creepy guy.
You're like some bear in the wilderness. That's what you're going to look like.
Like, just leave them alone. Don't feed the wildlife. So it'll be there. We have that. And then the end of July, there's the Midwest Rib Fest up in Minnesota, so we'll be crushing that. And then the World Poutine Eating Championship is coming back to Toronto. Smokes
Ooh.
Poutineery. I believe that's August 9th, if I am correct, right around there. And that's an awesome contest. Raise a ton of money for the Friends of We Care, sending kids to summer camps in Toronto and around there. A lot of fun there. And then, of course, around Labor Day weekend, there'll be Buffalo Wing Fest.
Yes, I love that.
To Buffalo, trying to crush that again. That's a really fun one. Two-day festival. Colorado Sloppers out in Colorado. So it's already a half full summer. I'm sure it's just going to fill up as the time goes along. And hopefully I'll have a ton more media to do, but with the big yellow strap on the shoulder.
That would be sick. So real quick, we got about a minute to go here. Which food do you want to see MLE incorporate here into a competition?
It's tough, man. I would love to be able to come up there towards Boston and get some Boston-themed food. I think maybe we could do a New England clam chowder eating contest.
Oh, my God. That's disgusting.
It would be rough. It would be a rough contest, but I'm like, I want to see what the people of Boston do. Put us in Fenway. Put us out on the corner.
Yeah.
Like Boylston Street in Boston, something like that. Let us crush some clam chowder.
Dude, yeah, no way you guys are, like, if you needed something to do in their wintertime, that'd be cool. There's no way I could watch you suck down a gallon of clam chowder on the 100-degree streets of Boylston. Like, no, no. Downtown Boston, no, absolutely not. Oh, God, you look like you smell like clam chowder right now, Nick. Thanks, man.
Boban is back, and so am I. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Go to the green room now. A good foundation is key to anything.
Especially your face, because that's where your word hole is.
The problem here is she's starting out with a pretty tough lie.
You get this whole team healthy, we're going to crush that record that we, the record. You guys ever look into this prompter? I think I need glasses. I guess that's why they call them the Bronx Bombers.
You are one of a kind, Brendan Glasheen, who joins us live here, yes, on the final episode of The Sweats 6-year history. You know what? It doesn't just stop there, Glash. I do have some WNBA questions for you in just a moment, but I'd like to toss it over to our good friend Steve Buchanan, who has a lot of fond memories of you, your time here, and some of the terrible tweets you used to push.
Yeah, I mean, look, is anyone hungry? Brendan Glasheen may be famous for his WNBA work, but he's also famous for grilling some of the worst grilled chicken that the Twitter world has ever seen. Look at the state of this grill that he puts his chicken on that he's going to feed himself and other people with. Brendan Glasheen, thank you for joining the show. I hope your WNBA information is a lot more useful than whatever this abomination is on the grill. Thank you very much. Love to see you.
All right, and he is gone. And from all of us, Brendan Glasheen, thank you for no longer tweeting out pictures of your chicken and asking if anyone is hungry.
I didn't get a chance to get a word in with Steve. That's it.
You can have your rebuttal right now. Go ahead.
No, I got nothing. It's fair.
Okay. Well,
good to see Steve. Is that all we're going to hear from him on this segment?
Yeah, on this segment, it's good. I actually asked him to stick around and maybe help out with some of these WNBA questions I'm about to hammer you with, but he says he's nervous, he's emotional because there's only now 2 blocks left after this one. So, hopefully you
Thanks for having me. That was fun.
No, thanks for being here. What would you say has been the biggest storyline so far this season around the WNBA? Because I've been following it more and more closely than I ever have in the past, Clash. Ratings are up. Ticket prices are up. Arenas are full. It feels like game in and game out. Where would you go when I ask you about top storylines and maybe what your favorite is?
I think all of those things fit under the umbrella of just the buzz that women that have been in the league for 2 decades, nearly 2 decades, or players that have been in the league for 4 or 5 years, and even this rookie class, I would just say the overall buzz has been really a blast to watch across the board. I mean, Caitlin Clark's games, Angel Reese, those 2 head-to-head, they've brought a lot of attention, but just finally, I think we're hitting a point now in the season where folks are really sinking their teeth into the basketball part and not the hoopla, which is fair. I mean, some folks didn't totally understand that the college, the entry draft was right after the Final Four, and then you get 2 weeks, and then you're into a season, and it's a full-out sprint because of this Olympic break. It's kind of an odd year with that being in the mix here. So all those things, I think, are all fair things to bring up, but it all fits under the umbrella of just, it's about time. I think these women would all say it's about time, and we got some great games today on TV. The games being on TV, I think, is the key to the whole thing. Going back to the college game 3 or 4 years ago, you put the games on TV at the college level. You then allow for, a Maserati in Caitlin Clark to come in, and she fully embraced it. It allowed others to be brought up as well. And that's been the key to it. She's been the vehicle. She's a gravitational force. Everyone else has benefited from it. And it's been fun. It's been fun to watch.
The Las Vegas Aces have also been a force. So back-to-back champs, but it appears, despite already losing as many games as they did last year, and we're only about 16 games in, they've won 4 in a row. Are the reigning WNBA champions back on track for a three-peat?
Yeah, Washington put a fright into them yesterday, and they almost beat Connecticut the other night in overtime. That's a feisty Washington team, despite some injuries. We talked about this in our little sit-down together before the season.
That was an exclusive sit-down.
This team three-peat.
That was an exclusive.
It was good. People, that is still available. You can go find it. But we mentioned how, hey, you're trying to three-peat. We talk about this at any other professional level. The only thing that could slip them up potentially would be a slow start because they've been there before, and that's kind of what's happened now, and injuries. And Chelsea Gray is a key ingredient to that team, and she is finally sort of getting her legs back under her, was in the starting lineup, had 20-plus points in the game against Washington. So it seems she's starting to figure it out, but she needs some time to get acclimated. They don't get as much practice time in an 82-game NBA season as they do in a 40-game WNBA season. And you have the consideration that 4 of their starters are Olympians. So they've got that in mind coming up as well. They'll be a well-oiled machine by the end. They added Tiffany Hayes since we last chatted. And Asia Wilson has been the best player in the world. I mean, she is the best player in the world right now. Broke the streak in league history for most 20-point games consecutively. She is awesome, and without her, I don't know where they'd be right now because they've needed her to stay in games. But they're going to be there at the end. They're going to be there in the end, and they'll have it all figured out.
All right, you're obviously the voice of the Connecticut Sun. You do a tremendous job calling those games, Glash, and they're still a problem. They're still a problem in this league because of that high-powered offense, lockdown defense. But for the first time this season, I believe the Sun just dropped back-to-back games. So give us an update on what's going on there in Connecticut.
2 straight, 3 of 4. Washington took them to overtime. I think now watching Vegas play a tight game against that team, I think everyone's kind of backing off now on Connecticut because Washington is just that good when they're on. So from the 3, that is. As you said, Connecticut, top-tier team defensively. They'll be in almost every game because of their defense. Still trying to get it figured out offensively. They're at the bottom of the league in three-point shooting. They get to the free throw line the most, good, but they don't make their free throws. They're bottom of the league in free throw percentage. So that negates the idea of getting to the free throw line. We discussed this early in the year, and it's kind of playing out in these last couple of weeks. Their margin for error against really, really good teams like Seattle, Vegas, New York, even a team like Minnesota, who they played and needed overtime to beat them. Now, looking back on it, that's a really good win because Minnesota won the Commissioner's Cup, and that's a team that's for real right now. So with their veterans, Alyssa Thomas, Tawana Bonner, Brianna Jones, they should at the very least be in the hunt for a semifinal berth. But offensively, they need their 2 new starters, Ty Harris, Dejanay Carrington, to be, I would say, combined 25 points a night. If those 2 don't bring it, you're asking a 36-year-old Tawana Bonner and Alyssa Thomas, who's only in her 11th year, to be great every single night. We talk about this with Vegas and New York, their depth, their other starters contributing on a regular basis. The Sun need that from their other starters almost every night, especially come September and October.
You mentioned earlier in our discussion here on the Sweat that there are some really good games on tap today. And the one that catches my eye, man, you got Caitlin Clark, rookie phenom, going up against future Hall of Famer Diana Taurasi. They're going to face off for the first time, highly anticipated face-off by basketball fans around the world, Glash. These 2 have an online history. You had Taurasi's previous comments of reality is coming, and then Clark before this game saying, man, I looked up to her. She is my WNBA idol here. There are going to be a lot of eyes on this game. What are your thoughts on just this individual matchup and just this matchup as a whole? Because you got the Fever really trying to make this push here mid-season, and Taurasi and her squad out in the desert, obviously trying to get above 500.
Yeah, so it is pretty cool. 42-year-old and a 22-year-old going head-to-head in the kind of news they made in the end of the college season into the WNBA. Diana Taurasi has always played with a chip, with a certain edge. She brings it every single night, and she's still doing it at a pretty high level as a more so now a supporting role with that team in Phoenix, bringing in Kalia Copper as well as Natasha Cloud in the free agency period. But I watched some of those clips too of Clark at the shoot around, and Clark, I think, has been humbled in the first 19 games of her career and admits that she looked up to Diana. And I think, as we talked about at the time, Diana Taurasi also had some good things to say about Caitlin Clark, that she has a motor that is just keeps going and going and going. I'm fascinated by the Fever because they've got to figure out how to get Clark shots, but also stay in their flow offensively through some of their bigs. And for Taurasi, she's going to be into this game. She gets up for every game, and she's just the fact she's done this for 20 years.
It's insane.
And she's the all-time leading scorer, up there in assists, number 1 in three-point shooting. She's going to bring it. She's brought it for 20 years over a consecutive 2-decade run. That's what Caitlin Clark wants to do over that kind of run. So Diana Taurasi is not fazed by much, but now with eyeballs on this game, I'm curious if Diana has a little extra chip on her shoulder in this game. But it should be fun. It's great theater. I think it's good for the league.
Flash, thanks for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you on this show for the past 6 years. We love you, and we mean it. We need to.
Thank you.
Hey, you're so welcome. Prepare for takeoff, baby. Jeff's got some bets for the final round of the Rocket Mortgage Classic. And will he be watching the Panthers parade?
Was this as emotional for you as it was for us? I was brought to tears when I met you for the first time in person 10 minutes ago. Like, you look great, Jeff.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. And yeah, this has been quite an experience so far, man. I mean, 5+ years of working in my closet / office and talking to you guys through the vibes of the internet. I mean, it's a little bit different in person. I'm not going to lie. This is, I dare say, it's a dream come true for me.
Yeah, I have the actual video of us meeting for the first time, but Drew refused to air it, producer Drew, because I called you small and cute. So, Jeff, it has been a pleasure crushing this show with you for 6 or so years. What are you going to miss the most, Jeff?
Well, getting up early on the weekends, I'm definitely going to miss. No, look, I mean, I'm going to miss just being able to chit chat about sports and talk about the relevant stuff that's going on. That's what we do every day on the show. Try to break down stuff, give people little fun takes. And I miss that, man. I love doing this. It's a privilege, to be honest, in this industry to be able to be a part of something like this. So,
I know.
Yeah.
And again, I want to remind everyone that the show's going away. We're just hitting the pause button here real quick because we're gearing up for NFL season. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff for you. And Jeff, like, you're not getting fired. Like, you're still all DK Nation. You have a boatload of articles. You're very good at the hockey. You're very good at the golf, which is actually why we have you here this morning. So I'm not going to pour one out for you yet because from what I know, you're still on staff, Jeff. But before we get to golf, we didn't get to it yesterday during our hockey segment. But what was your biggest takeaway? The NHL draft wrapping up. We had a 2-day event at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Were there any big winners, any big losers for you here? Like, what are you taking away from this event?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any like huge winners or losers. I mean, obviously the media is always going to talk about like, who took what and who was the big winner and stuff like that. I didn't think there was anything crazy. Obviously, like the San Jose Sharks getting Macklin Celebrini. I mean, it's a nice pick. I mean, I don't think he's like a generational talent. He doesn't have the offensive upside as the last, like Bedard or McDavid or something like that. But I mean, he's a really solid player. I've seen him compared to Jonathan Toews. I feel like that may even just be underrating his upside a little bit. Toews is obviously a very good player in his prime, but it's probably maybe even a little bit more offensive upside. It's a nice building block for San Jose, who really kind of just needs a player to build around. Like they just didn't have much. I mean, I'll give you like my one sort of sleeper pick that I liked. I liked the Buffalo Sabres did to Konsta Helenius from Finland. I mean, this is a guy who put up really good numbers against men over in Finland. Like they're really good. Like for the league he was in, I don't think people realize. I'm pretty interested to see what he could do. Yeah, I think he could be kind of a special player. So look out for Helenius from the Sabres. My Oilers moved up, grabbed like the 32nd pick. Dude's name is absolutely eluding me on my air. Oh, Sam O'Reilly, excuse me. He's an interesting player too, so he's going to add a little bit of depth. I don't know if he'll make the lineup next year, but nice move from them. Nothing too crazy though, but I really like that pick from the Sabres. We'll see how Helenius does next year.
Speaking of the Oilers, how dialed in are you going to be to the Panthers parade this morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time, their Stanley Cup parade?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm taping it, and then I'm going to rewatch it again probably
you love
tomorrow
pain,
just to
baby.
dissect.
Pain for pleasure, Ulrich.
Just to dissect what it's like to live in a city to win, and I'll just live vicariously through Miami fans.
It's a mile long. That's it. It's 1 mile long down a stretch there in Fort Lauderdale.
I'm not going to lie. It's pathetic. I'm sorry. They were walking down the street with the Stanley Cup, and there was like 5 people around them. If you brought the Stanley Cup out in Edmonton, Emerson,
I know. Yeah.
I mean, the city would shut down. People just leave their jobs and just be like, I don't need this job. But the Stanley Cup's on the side of the road. I'm going to go see it. So
yeah, it was.
I'm sorry. Look, I like Miami. It's actually, I think it's a cool city. I've never been there, so I can't really. I'm just speaking out of my ass. But like it just if we did this in Edmonton and the Stanley Cup was on the side of the road, I'm sorry, but like things would get absolutely insane.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love Miami. Never been there, but love Miami. I love when you give us winning golf bets. So we got the final round of the Rocket Mortgage Classic going down. We got 2 guys tied atop the leaderboard. So Batia and Rye, I think they're tied. Sitting in the pole position, 17 under through 54 holes right now, Jeff. But in total, this could be a good day live betting, in my opinion, because right now, 11 players find themselves within 4 strokes. And that includes proven winners like, Van Ruin and Minwoo Lee, they are among that group, and some youngsters in there as well. What's going to be your approach to betting this overall today? And are you hammering some bets right now before these groups tee off?
So I made one bet.
Okay.
I think that there's a good chance Cameron Young closes this out. At the same time, I would not bet any of the top 4 players at those prices. These guys are, Batia's been good, but he didn't really play that well yesterday. I agree with you. Like, I would look further back, potentially some wind in play, which could just make things even crazier, maybe more swings. Minwoo Lee at plus 1,800. Minwoo Lee was basically plus 1,800 before tee off, and he's 3 shots back, and he's a really, really great putter, just a great player overall, great young player. He's going to win on the PGA at some point. You're getting him at the same price he was to start, and he's like 3 shots back in the final round. I like situations like this where you're just, you're not really paying a premium to just get a guy who's already in contention. I like that price. I like the player. I think he's put himself in a really good position. But I wouldn't mind looking even further back. Like, Davis Thompson's a really good young player. And then the guy who's really interested on DK, Patrick Rogers, a plus 6,500. Patrick Rogers has put himself in these kind of positions so many times over his career. He's another extremely good putter. At some point, the dam is going to break and he's going to win one of these events. It's a big price and it's a big ask for back, but again, it's not like Scotty Scheffler and like Bryson DeChambeau are leading this event. It's, Batia, Cameron Young, who never wins, Cam Davis, who hasn't had a top 10 since like the Carter administration. I think that guy 4 back potentially could take this. Absolutely. So Patrick Rogers plus 6,500, but the bet I really like, Minwoo Lee plus 1,800.
It's crazy. You see some of the guys who performed well at the Travelers last week who are doing well, like Batia. I mean, hell, Kim Young had the 59, I think that was in the second or the third round. And then Tom Kim, who lost in that playoff to Scotty Scheffler, who was playing his 9th straight week on tour this week, ends up missing the cut by just 1 stroke. So if you would dive though into the props right now, Jeff, like anyone else for like top 5, top 10 matchups, anything like that, and not to mention, pour one out for producer Drew, who's like 20-man top 20 parlay is not going to hit because Willie Z had to withdraw from the tournament.
Yeah, and Will Zalatoris.
I'm out on him. I'm out on him. So it's Jordan Spieth. It is going to be Willie Z. And then, well, those 2 are at the top of my cards for guys I'll never bet on again. Jason Day, too. Those are the 3. Never again. You will not get a single unit from me. And a single unit is $1 for me.
He's going to bet every name he just put out, he's going to bet at the Open in like 2 weeks. I think Davis Thompson a plus 100 for a top 10 is a pretty safe bet. Again, he's played well. This course really suits him. He's put himself in a good position. A plus 100 isn't huge or anything, but it's certainly like a nice price just for the type of player that Davis Thompson is, a player with length who can take advantage of this course. I like that. I think looking further down, it's a short price for Ricky Fowler on a top 20 at minus 120, but Ricky Fowler's actually played really good this week. He played good at the Travelers, as you mentioned, putted well. I think Ricky Fowler probably finishes inside the top 20, maybe even makes a run at the top 10. So that's another name I kind of had circled there. Again, it's not a huge price. We're talking about minus 120, but I really think he's a pretty solid favorite to finish inside the top 20. So I don't really mind that price from that perspective. A couple just quick matchups like going down the board. I really don't mind taking Aaron Rai at plus 100 over Akshay Bhatia. I just feel like Bhatia, he's played quite a bit of golf lately too, and it kind of like he saved his round yesterday, but he didn't really play well. Just worries me a bit. I would definitely take Aaron Rai over Bhatia just straight up, just for a round here again. And then, there's not a ton of stuff that sort of stuck out further down. Mm-hmm. I do like Ricky Fowler, but I wouldn't take him at minus 165 over Dylan Wu. It's probably a little bit too short, but maybe as part of like a parlay, you could use Fowler. I think Rye's solid. I just don't know if he's going to get it done today, but I do kind of like him in that matchup over Bhatia.
Jeff, I'll give you about 45 seconds here, just really quick. Last major of the year, the Open Championship's going to arrive here in the week. Will arrive in about 2 weeks. Do you have any early outright bets you like right now? Scotty the favorite, Rory plus 700, and then it drops to Bryson DeChambeau plus 1,200. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, I'm creating a few parlays with Rory McIlroy in it. I mean, just feels like just the break's going to do him good. Just the fact once it all settles in, it feels like he's going to kind of understand that, like he put himself in position again, potentially like just be able to build off that. Other than that, this just feels like a little bit wide open. I mean, I think I'm probably going to be looking at the top of the board to add someone else, potentially Victor Hovland again at plus 1800. I know he didn't have a great U.S. Open. He hasn't looked great, but he's been a great Open Championship player. So we'll keep an eye on that number.
Okay.
But other than that, honestly, it'd probably be someone like way down the board, like Alex Noren or something like that. I don't have a ton of bets in yet for the Open.
Well, there you go, Jeff. That's you do what you do best, and you just keep talking. We got to take a break now. We have the cool down coming up. Thanks for everything, Jeff.
See you, buddy.
All right, folks, back here. This is it. We really are going down with the ship.
Right.
Final block of the final episode of The Sweat. It's been a hell of a run that started about 6 years or so ago. Jesse and I, first hosts on this program. You, a bunch of analysts, and
Julian, you did great.
Yeah, Julian, great stuff. Oh, typical Julian, not being here on a weekend when he's supposed to be working. Anywho, yes, The Sweat would not be The Sweat without one of the founding members, our draft queen, Jessie Cofield, who has been out for months, but for a good reason. She had her second child. She was kind enough to join us this morning. Oh, it's an emotional day. It's an emotional day. How you doing, by the way?
I'm great, but who would have thought? Who would have thought, guys? Here we are. 6 years later? Has it really been 6 years?
Yeah. You remember when we first started in the old studio, in the old office? It was basically a pantry, right? The best part, though, the snack wall was right outside. We could literally reach our arm around the door and grab beef jerky or chips or cereal or something like that.
People were like, what are you guys doing in that janitor's closet back there? And we were like, oh, this is a studio and we do a show. And that's how The Sweat started. And it wasn't even called The Sweat when we first started. Wasn't it called The Slate?
Yeah.
And then we changed it to The Sweat.
Uh-huh.
So it all began back at our old office and in a closet. And man, I was in my 20s.
Yeah, you were.
Unmarried, no children.
That's right.
Here we are.
I know.
Married, 2 kids later, and we close this chapter and we move on to more exciting things.
Yep. Wait a second. So Samir just slacked me. I don't believe a single episode of The Slate Show ever made air. Okay.
That's probably, that's probably true.
We were doing fake work. It's funny, is 6 years later, people still walk by the studio here in our new Boston office, and they still don't know we have a show. But now we won't have a show, but
now we don't. So good for them. They never have to know.
I know. And you will be back behind this desk after this following holiday week. So you're going to be back posting with Gojo and Golic. I know they have missed you. We have missed you. Claudia's done a great job filling in for you. But it's going to be great to have you back around the office. You've loved working with Jessie.
Yeah, I know.
You always text me all the time. You're like, I love working with Jessie.
I definitely prefer Jessie over you. So I
do too.
The time that she's
I prefer everybody here above me.
When I found out she was doing Gojo and Golic, I was vastly disappointed because I knew that you were going to do The Sweat on the weekends.
Yep. And now look at it.
You know what?
You're welcome.
You and I have grown during these weekend things.
Except you didn't donate to my golf fundraiser.
I still do prefer Jessie over you.
Okay. Well, Jessie, while we have you here, we have a best of The Sweat. We have some clips that some of our rock stars behind the scene have put together. So I want us to watch this together, cry together, and react to it afterwards. So let's roll the tape, everybody.
And 3, and 2, and 1.
I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but buckle up. As for this actual show,
fantastic sports betting advice, fantasy advice, maybe even love.
We help people build lineups and stuff.
All coming up on the show, we call it, what is it?
The Sweat.
Welcome into The Sweat.
The Sweat!
Fire up the fire, pour out the milk, get ready to nosh on them cookies. Let's start big. Let's start beefy.
Everyone needs a large man up there hitting dingers.
Paul Goldschmidt, we love you.
Sweatometer is about to explode.
James Cook, rushing. This is not going to go bad twice.
Enrique Hernandez, I don't care what his name is, 7 DK fantasy points for him tonight.
Andrew Wiggins is only $5,700. He plays terrific in this matchup.
I wanted to show off these fantastic friendship bracelets, sack of potatoes on his. Here, put your hand out. Yep,
my
there we
personality.
go. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Brandon, who tweeted on Sunday that you hate me. The hell's going on, pal?
We're just gonna bring in Paul Bruno,
who is a member of one of 2 nations that have already been eliminated
Canada,
from advancing at the World Cup.
Boom, roasted.
Listen to these slagging shots.
That value's gone. That value's not going to get any better.
We had a fan on the field during Monday Night Football this week.
You should have to fight the mascot.
Just give me a player.
Nick Foles.
You are not close in any area whatsoever. Got Steve and Jules.
That usually turns into a mess.
How did that happen? I can't wait to hear what you got to say here.
Some dog action back there.
Yeah, a lot of dogs.
I will not be going with the dog in this game. I will be going with the favorite in the 49ers. See what I did there?
And we're back in 3, 2.
Get ready for this show to go right off the rails.
What do you think? I like turtles.
When I do this, I need you guys kind of coaching me through it, okay?
Okay, so you want to bite?
I don't know how you guys do this.
Notice you're all dressed up today. Like, do you have to go to court after this? What's going on?
I wear a jacket a lot because I'm a professional. I'm the host of this show. I want, you know, I believe it's science when you wear a jacket. All right, yeah, a little bit of shorts, I guess.
But I love.
All right, let's screen grab that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, make sure you screen grab that shot of him frozen because that is a large mouth.
Let me ask you something. Who's doing the graphics today? Who can't put this together?
Wait, I know it's coming. Yeah! He is so smart.
Total fraud. Like, whatever. You can enjoy that all you want.
You were a meme. What was he saying to you?
I've actually never told anybody what he actually said. He's basically saying, I really think my mom would love you. I make a ton of money.
You know what? I screwed that one up. That was on me.
I'm here to tell you right now, I don't care.
Rookie head coach could not hack it.
How dare you? How dare you?
Hold on a second.
First, we'll start with center. Colorado's Nathan McKinnon, excuse me. Versus Ottawa, he's at 8,000, or Winnipeg's Mark Shifile. So I hope I'm saying that one right.
All right, let's take a look at the college football playoffs as it stands right now.
Hey, Julian.
All right.
Hey.
Me,
I'm working.
Julian yet.
He's on camera.
Just relax. It's in the script, buddy.
I'm absolutely miserable and I'm dead inside. Yes.
These are the top fantasy scorers from Monday.
Yeah.
Those are the top scorers.
Think back to 2011 Emerson. What would you tell him?
Stop drinking Jaeger. Steve's Spicy Stack.
Carolina Reaper. And there's no John French flip. Here it comes.
Is it time to bring back steroids in baseball?
Sure, why not?
I can't take it.
We're losing it.
Follow me out the studio. I'm not doing it.
What the hell is happening right now?
Why? The show's over. It's over.
Show really is over.
That was fantastic.
That was awesome.
That was really good.
Good time.
That was really good.
I know, dude. I've loved this show because our managers have let us get like super weird. We have fun. Like we're still giving out like good information. You know, it's just time for a change. That's all. And great things are coming. But there's a reason I love this job, and this is the best place that I have ever worked in my entire life because we have so much fun. And we all have great relationships with each other outside of this place, Jesse. And I think that comes across like on air. Like we like working with each other. We love this team. We love this company. And it's been a hell of a run, man. It's been a hell of a run.
Yeah, we're really lucky that we all get to work together and, you know, like you said, give out good advice and good content and stuff, but still have a great time with each other.
Yeah, like we have a fun way of doing it. Like you sucking down wings and
that was horrible. That was so bad because that was like my biggest fear because when we did that, it was like I was gonna give out plays and like I was gonna use like different hot sauces and everything. And the first one, I like started talking and I inadvertently like swallowed way too early. So like I'm on air, I start choking. Like what am I supposed to do? So I walk off. I know my microphone's still on, so everyone's gonna know what's going on still. But honestly, it's just like those kind of like moments, those kind of situations, like just helps make a show fun because anybody can just set up a round table, have a little discussion, but it's like you need to captivate and you need to bring in people to like the show and be entertained. And I think that's we did a good job with that.
Entertaining, making it weird, and like producer Drew
put your life on the line, like I did.
Yes,
like,
you did.
No, that was
dude.
tough.
And I think I had just learned like mouth to mouth. I thought I was gonna have to give you mouth to mouth, and then someone's like, "No, dude, when someone's choking, you don't do mouth to mouth." But like,
I don't know where that came from.
Producer Drew, Slates, Durgan, like Samir, like talking our producers. Everyone else, like behind the scenes, like Jay Fettuccini, Buck, there's Cody back there, there's Bailey, there's Howard, there's the two Billies, we have like 5 Billies now, we have a bunch of Jays. Like the team that we have built here together is a team that I would pit against any other content creating team on this playing it.
Yep.
I mean, even behind the scenes, Pike as well. That's the problem. You start naming out people, you forget people. So I'm going to get out of here, and someone's going to be crying about it. But thank you, everyone, for hanging with us and putting up with us for 6 years. Jesse, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. You are special. You mean a lot to us. You mean a lot to me.
Yep.
Did I forget anybody else that I should name here before?
Julian?
Pirate, Regia, kind of a big manager there. Yeah. Len, Brian, Stacy, love all of you guys and gals. And we'll see you football season. It's going to be fun, and we are still going to be weird. We love you.
Peace.